Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stresses that terror and peace cannot coexist at the SCO meet, warns that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, urges unequivocal condemnation by the member states. At UN Security Council, India exposes Pakistan's gross hypocrisy over terror and child rights abuses. In the UNSC's open debate on children and armed conflict, Indian envoy labels Pakistan as one of the grave violators of the CAAC agenda. India's Operation Sindhu continues for evacuating Indians from the conflict zones of Iran and Israel. 3,426 Indians, 9 Nepalese and 4 Sri Lankan citizens evacuated so far. US and Iran to hold nuclear talks next week. President Trump signals easing Iran oil sanctions enforcement to help put country into shape. Kennedy's US vaccine panel says it will scrutinize the childhood immunization schedule. Panel will vote on RSV therapies today. Experts met the announcement with skepticism. Delhi and Uttar Pradesh await monsoon showers, while heavy rainfall being witnessed across Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Met Department issues rainfall alert for many other states. An Axiom 4 aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon with India's Shubhanshu, Shukla and 3 other astronauts will dock with International Space Station at around 16:30 Indian Standard Time today. Shubhanshu will be the first ever Indian at the space station. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today took a wild dig at Pakistan for using cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy. Attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meet in China, Rajnath Singh reiterated India's stand on zero tolerance against terrorism, saying that any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever and by whomsoever committed.
India's zero tolerance for terrorism is manifest today through its actions. This includes our right to defend ourselves against terrorism, and we have shown that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, and we will not hesitate to target them.
And without naming Pakistan, the Defence Minister stressed that SCO countries must unite in condemning states which use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy.
It is imperative that those who sponsor, nurture and utilize terrorism for their narrow and selfish ends must bear the consequences. Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists. There should be no place for such double standards. SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations.
Rajnath Singh asserted that the biggest challenges the country is facing today are related to peace, security and trust deficit. He also explained that the root cause of these problems.
I believe that the biggest challenges that we are facing in our region are related to peace, security and trust deficit. And the root cause of these problems is increasing radicalization, extremism and terrorism. Peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of the mass destruction in the hands of the non-state actors and the terror groups. Dealing with these challenges require decisive action, and we must unite in our fight against these evils for our collective safety and security.
And he also spoke about the dastardly and heinous Pahalgam terrorist attack which killed 26 civilians on April 22nd, terming the Operation Sindoor carried out thereafter as India's right to defend.
pattern of the Pahalgam terror attack matches with LET's previous terror attacks in India. In exercising its right to defend against terrorism and preempt as well as deter further cross-border terrorist attacks, India on 7th May 2025 successfully launched Operation Sindoor to dismantle cross-border terrorist infrastructure.
And the Defence Minister stated that acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, urging unequivocal condemnation by the SCO members.
Any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever, and by whomsoever committed. SCO members must condemn this evil unequivocally. We reiterate the need to hold the perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of reprehensible acts of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, accountable and bring them to justice.
All right, let's go across to DD India's Vishal Barrister. He joins us from the newsroom for more. Vishal, good morning. We heard Rajnath Singh's remarks on terrorism. Tell us, how strong was his message to the SCO member nations?
Well, a very good morning to you, Abhishek. You heard the echoes of Pahalgam attack there at the SCO summit, and the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh made it very clear that India is not going to tolerate any act of terrorism and has all the rights to defend its territorial integrity and will go all out to attack the epicenters of terrorism. He also raised the issue of RATS, which is the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure within SCO. And if you remember, under India's chairmanship, a joint declaration was also signed. And that's why Rajnath Singh also raised the issue of RATS today and reminded the SCO members that the world is not safe, though SCO is the largest organization, regional organization covering 40% population of the world, and it is seen as a very, very prominent organization, and that is why Rajnath Singh time and again raised the issue of how India considers the world a family and why all members should unite. Interestingly, both India and Pakistan joined SCO in 2017, and there are 10 members including Iran and Russia, and you have the headquarters of RATS in Uzbekistan. So India has been time and again raising, and today was the day and also the platform for India to once again raise the point of state-sponsored terrorism and how Pahalgam is the latest example that resulted in the deaths of so many people and also one Nepalese citizen. So India has been very, very vocal against Pakistan without naming Pakistan and also targeting China in a veiled attempt.
Also, Vishal, what broader significance Rajnath Singh's statements hold in the context of India's counter-terror diplomacy? And did he also raise any other security concerns or strategic priorities for the region?
Well, Abhishek, Rajnath Singh made it very clear that any superpower is not safe today because the strategies have changed and now there are hybrid wars. And we need to tackle and counter this attack, and especially the state-sponsored and non-state actors' role in the act of terrorism. And that is why he said that no superpower is safe today. That is why we need to stand united. In the SCO, you also have Russia and Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, but the crucial members are Russia and China. Russia has, in fact, the defense minister also had a bilateral meeting with the defense minister of Russia also. And China and Pakistan are closely watching India's move, but India has made it very clear that Operation Sindoor was launched only to defend the attack on its innocent people and also to set an example for terrorists across the border.
Vishal, like you mentioned, crucial members of the SCO, Russia and China, any bilaterals also planned with its counterparts on the sidelines of the event?
Well, with Pakistan and China, I don't think so. But definitely the defense minister, as I've already mentioned, has met the the defense minister of Russia. He would also be meeting defense ministers of other countries and might be a meeting with Iran as well. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, I don't think so. It's a big no.
All right, Vishal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Later, on the sidelines of the SCO defense ministers meeting in Qingdao, Rajnath Singh met his Russian counterpart Andrei Belousov. India has strongly rejected what it described as Pakistan's nefarious agenda at the United Nations Security Council, accusing Islamabad of attempting to deflect attention from its own human rights violations and state-sponsored cross-border terrorism. India's permanent representative to the UN Ambassador Parvat Neni Harish issued a sharp rebuttal during the UNSC's open debate on children and armed conflict, calling out Pakistan for misusing the platform and violating the Council's agenda.
Our world is witnessing an alarming escalation in conflicts and terrorist attacks, and children are their most unfortunate casualties. As per the UNSG's report, grave violations against children have surged 25%, while sexual violence has risen 35% in 2024, a sobering indictment that demands immediate and decisive action. Therefore, today's discussion is both urgent and necessary. I am constrained to respond to the politically motivated remarks made by the delegate of Pakistan, one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda. Pakistan is casting unwarranted aspersions over UN processes and also smearing India at various discussions to pursue their nefarious agenda. We reject this attempt by Pakistan to deflect attention from the atrocities committed against children in their country, as highlighted in the Secretary General's report, as well as their rampant cross-border terrorism.
And the Indian envoy labelled Pakistan as one of the grave violators of the CAC agenda, referring to the Secretary General's recent CAAC report, which detailed grave violations against children in Pakistan, including attacks on girls' schools and health workers.
The Secretary General's report on CAC provides details of serious violations against children in armed conflict in Pakistan. The Secretary General has expressed concern at the rise in such grave violations reported, including attacks against schools, particularly girls' schools, against health workers, and about the incidents in the border areas with Afghanistan, where a series of killing and maiming of Afghan children was directly attributed to cross-border shelling and airstrikes by Pakistani armed forces.
And concluding his remarks, the Indian envoy reiterated India's firm stance on Jammu and Kashmir, stating the entire Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir has been, is and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India, irrespective of the frequent incessant spate of lies and falsehoods by Pakistan. Moving on, the Axim 4 mission launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is unfolding as planned, with the spacecraft steadily approaching the International Space Station. The crew, including Shubhanshu Shukla, is expected to dock with the ISS around 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Thursday, capping a 28-hour journey from Earth to low Earth orbit. The Axim 4 mission successfully lifted off at 12:01 p.m. IST on Wednesday from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Shubhanshu Shukla, a former Indian Air Force's group captain, has the responsibility as the pilot of the mission, with its commander being Peggy Whitson of the United States. Two other members, Slavoj Oznansky-Wisniewski of Poland and Tibor Kapu of Hungary, serve as the mission specialist. The launch marks India's return to human spaceflight after a gap of 41 years since Rakesh Sharma's 1984 space mission. Shukla, born in Lucknow, is only the second Indian to undertake a space journey. The Dragon spacecraft successfully entered Earth's orbit at an altitude of 200 kilometers, with Shukla later describing the experience as an amazing ride. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Trump calls on Israel to help Netanyahu avoid corruption trial amid ongoing legal battle. Ukraine and Europe sign agreement to establish tribunal prosecuting Russia for crime of aggression. And Ecuador's most wanted gang leader, Fito, recaptured, faces extradition to the US.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. India continues to evacuate its citizens from Israel and Iran even as the news of ceasefire came in. 3,426 Indians have been brought back so far from Iran. Sharing details about the evacuation mission, India's External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said 272 Indian and 3 Nepalese nationals who were evacuated on a special flight that arrived in New Delhi from Mashhad at 0001 hours on 26th June. Moving on to other stories, the world is hoping for things to calm down in West Asia as the United States would hold nuclear talks with Iran next week. US President Donald Trump even teased the possibility of a deal. Speaking in The Hague, where he attended a NATO summit on Wednesday, Trump said he did not see Iran again engaging in nuclear weapons development. He said US would likely seek a commitment from Iran to end its nuclear ambitions at talks and credited US strikes on Iran with bringing a swift end to the conflict between Israel and Tehran. Tehran has for decades denied accusations by Western leaders that it is seeking nuclear arms. Trump said he was confident Tehran would pursue a diplomatic path towards reconciliation, though he gave no details on the discussions next week, such as the venue and participants.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
Now, in both Iran and Israel, residents expressed relief at the end of the fighting, but also apprehension. Meanwhile, Trump administration hit back at accounts that Iran may have moved enriched uranium before US bombing as a row grew on how much the strikes set back Tehran's nuclear program. Trump has lashed out angrily at media accounts of a classified report that doubted the extent of damage to Iranian nuclear sites. Another key question raised by experts is whether Iran, preparing for the strike, moved out from 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, which could now be hidden elsewhere in the vast country. The uranium in question is enriched to 60% above levels for civilian usage, but still below weapons grade. The US military said it dropped 14 GBU, 57 bunker buster bombs, powerful 13,600 kilogram weapons on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Trump has repeatedly said that the attack obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, including the key site of Fordo, buried inside a mountain. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqei, in an interview with Al Jazeera, said that its nuclear facilities were badly damaged.
Yes, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will hold a major news conference on Thursday to quell doubts over the damage done by U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump, in a social media post, said Hegseth, together with military representatives, will be holding a major news conference at the Pentagon in order to fight for the dignity of the great American pilots. Now, Iran is refusing to back down, at least for optics. Iran's IRGC Commander General Mohammad Pakpour warned that Iran's forces are fully prepared and will respond strongly to any attack. The warning came after Israel launched a surprise bombing campaign on June 13th that killed top Iranian military leaders, nuclear scientists and targeted key nuclear and missile sites. Iran hit back with a missile barrage that overwhelmed Israeli defenses for the first time. After 12 days of airstrikes, a ceasefire was brokered by US President Donald Trump. Iran reported 610 deaths and nearly 5,000 injuries. Israel reported 28 deaths. The full extent of damage in Iran remains unclear.
همه رزمندگان ما دستشون روی ماشه است. اگر خطایی از طرف دشمن صورت بگیره حتما مثل 12 روز گذشته مقابله مثل جانانه انجام خواهیم داد. در دفاع از این کشور ما لحظه‌ای به خودمون تردید راه نمیدیم.
Meanwhile, Iranian authorities have intensified an internal security crackdown across the country with mass arrest, executions and military deployments, particularly in the restive Kurdish region. IRGC arrested 26 people, accusing them of collaborating with Israel days after a ceasefire between the two countries was announced. The arrest came after Israel's military chief said Wednesday that its commandos had operated secretly inside Iran during the country's 12-day war, as the spy chief also hailed assistance from U.S. intelligence. Security forces set up checkpoints and began arresting suspected spies, with Revolutionary Guard and Basij forces placed on high alert. Iran also said that it executed 3 men accused of spying for Israel. Both countries have claimed victory in the conflict since a ceasefire went into effect on Tuesday. In a first, U.S. President Donald Trump called for Israel to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu or cancel his trial on corruption charges. Trump extolled Netanyahu in his social media post that appeared to be a reference to U.S. involvement and support for Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear program. It was unclear if Trump meant the U.S. could do anything to aid Netanyahu in his legal battle. Israeli media have reported that cross-examination of Netanyahu began on June 3rd in a Tel Aviv court and was expected to take about a year to complete. Netanyahu was indicted in 2019 in Israel on charges of bribery, fraud and breach of trust, all of which Netanyahu denies. The trial began in 2020 and involves 3 criminal cases. He has pleaded not guilty. A medical panel appointed by U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. held its first meeting on Wednesday, pledging to revisit the childhood vaccine schedule and promoting themes long embraced by anti-vaccine activists. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, an independent group that reviews scientific evidence to determine who should receive vaccines and when, rarely draws headlines. The panel's first major test comes on Thursday when it votes on whether to recommend a newly approved antibody shot against RSV or respiratory syncytial virus for infants whose mothers did not receive an RSV vaccine during pregnancy. Well, updates now on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine signed an agreement with Europe to set up a special tribunal to prosecute Russia for the crime of aggression against Ukraine on Wednesday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Council of Europe Secretary General Alan Berset signed the agreement before Council members. The tribunal was requested by the Ukrainian authorities and endorsed by the Council of Europe Foreign Ministers in Luxembourg on 14 May 2025. The Council stated that the tribunal's purpose is to prosecute senior leaders, which involves unlawfully using armed force against another country violating the UN Charter. Zelensky also addressed the Council of Europe and urged political and legal cooperation. Previously, Zelensky met with U.S. President Donald Trump during a NATO summit, after which Trump said the U.S. would consider sending more Patriot missiles to help Ukraine's defense. Moving on, a gun attack during a religious celebration in central Mexico has left 11 people dead and others injured in violence-plagued Guanajuato state. The authorities said on Wednesday the shooting erupted on Tuesday night in the city of Irapuato during festivities marking the nativity of John the Baptist. According to the Guanajuato State Prosecutor's Office, a 17-year-old was among those killed, along with 8 adult men and 2 women. In a statement, the Irapuato municipal government said security forces were searching for the perpetrators of the cowardly act, while officials were providing psychological support to those affected. Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the shooting as deplorable, adding that authorities had launched an investigation. Now, Ecuador's most wanted man and leader of the Los Choneros gang, Jose Adolfo Macias, known as Fito, was captured on Wednesday. Fito had been recaptured over a year after he escaped from prison, triggering a wave of violence. Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa wrote on X that they have done their part to proceed with Fito's extradition to the United States, now awaiting for their response. Fito escaped custody in Ecuador in early 2024, and American prosecutors charged him in absentia with 7 counts of cocaine distribution, conspiracy and firearms-related crimes, including weapons smuggling. At the time of his escape, Macias Villamar was also considered a suspect in ordering the assassination of presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio, who was shot in Quito in August 2023. U.S. prosecutors claim his gang worked with Mexico's Sinaloa cartel to control key drug trafficking routes between South America and the United States. Ecuador's government had offered $1 million reward for information leading to his capture. A judge in an Australian mushroom murder trial continued his instructions to the jury on Thursday as the case nears its conclusion. Justice Christopher Biel, presiding over the trial at La Trobe Valley Magistrates Court, entered his 3rd day of guiding the jury through the legal considerations in the case. The trial is being held in Morville. Erin Patterson is charged with the murders of her mother-in-law, father-in-law and mother-in-law's sister, Heather Wilkinson. She also faces 1 count of attempted murder in connection with Heather's husband, Ian Wilkinson, who survived. The alleged poisoning occurred in July 2023 after a family lunch. Prosecutors alleged that toxic mushrooms were deliberately used in the meal. Now, Colombian President Gustavo Petro signed a labor reform on Wednesday after its approval by the Colombian Senate earlier this month. The bill includes measures to enshrine an 8-hour daytime workday, increase weekend and holiday pay, and require social security payments from delivery app drivers. The approved reform will instantly raise wages for work done from 7 p.m. onwards and will gradually boost the extra pay for Sunday and holiday shifts through July 2027. Petro said the Ministry of Labour must create a task force to ensure employers are applying the reform. He also encouraged Colombians to vote for officials who will give continuity to the law in the 2026 legislative and presidential elections. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Sean Diddy Combs' high-profile federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial nears conclusion, closing arguments later today. Peruvian police rescue teams recover the bodies of 3 missing mountaineers from the snow-covered Arte Sonraju Peak after a 24-day search. And also we'll give you all the weather updates from around the world.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Save your country.
You read between the
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stresses that terror and peace cannot coexist at the SCO meet, warns that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, urges unequivocal condemnation by member states. At UN Security Council, India exposes Pakistan's gross hypocrisy over terror and child rights abuses. In the UNSC's open debate on children and armed conflict, Indian envoy labels Pakistan as one of the grave violators of the CAAC agenda. India's Operation Sindhu continues for evacuating Indians from the conflict zones of Iran and Israel. 3,426 Indians, 9 Nepalese and 4 Sri Lankan citizens evacuated so far. US and Iran to hold nuclear talks next week. President Trump signals easing Iran oil sanctions enforcement to help put country into shape. Kennedy's US vaccine panel says it will scrutinize the childhood immunization schedule. Panel will vote on RSV therapies today. Experts met the announcement with skepticism. An Axiom 4 aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon with India's Shubhanshu Shukla and 3 other astronauts will dock with International Space Station at around 16:30 Indian Standard Time today. Shubhanshu will be first ever Indian at the ISS. Doctors at Garahan Pediatric Hospital in Buenos Aires held a protest on Wednesday criticizing government policies causing underfunding and low wages. The protesters responded to the presidential spokesperson who defended the government's stance, asserting that the issue lies with gnocchis, public employees who draw salaries without performing duties. The medical staff ironically organized a communal meal and cooked gnocchis for the protesters. 16 people died during nationwide anti-government protests in Kenya on Wednesday. Thousands of young protesters took to the streets of Nairobi and other cities demanding an end to police brutality, economic injustice and poor governance. Protests unfolded under heavy police presence with security forces firing tear gas to disperse crowds. The Communications Authority of Kenya directed all local media to halt live coverage of the protest. The move came as President William Ruto warned that the violence will not be tolerated, prompting concerns over press freedom. The protests come exactly a year after deadly anti-tax demonstrations in 2023 left 60 people dead and 20 missing. Now, Sean Diddy Combs' high-profile federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial is nearing its conclusion with closing arguments set for Thursday. On Wednesday, prosecutors, as per multiple reports, announced that they would not pursue several previously included allegations. The charges were part of the broader racketeering case against Combs, who has pleaded not guilty to all counts. If convicted on all 5 counts, Combs faces a mandatory 15-year prison sentence and could face life behind bars. Defendants in U.S. criminal cases are not required to present evidence, and judges instruct juries not to hold a refusal to testify against defendants. To win a guilty verdict, prosecutors must prove their cases beyond a reasonable doubt. And Peruvian police rescue teams recovered the bodies of 3 missing mountaineers from the snow-covered Artes on Rahu's Peak in the Cordillera Blanca, Peru, after a 24-day search. The Peruvian media said the rescue operation faced extreme weather and challenging terrain at over 5,200 meters altitude. The bodies were located by hired mountain guides with support from volunteers in a high-risk area. The delicate rescue involved freeing the bodies from unstable glacier conditions. The victims, 2 Peruvians and 1 Brazilian, were passionate mountaineers and students from Huara's High Mountain Studies Center. Thousands of people have flooded into Worthy Farm as the gates officially opened for the 2025 Glastonbury Festival. Over 200,000 attendees are expected to arrive over the next few days ahead of the main festival kicking off on Friday. Hundreds had arrived on Tuesday night, camping under the stars and queuing in hopes of being the first to enter. The festival will see performers ranging from Olivia Rodrigo to Rod Stewart and Charlie XCX. Workers were busy setting up the festival's stages, including the main arena. The main music program doesn't begin until Friday, but festival goers had plenty of plans to keep themselves busy. Organizers have said this year's edition, taking place from June 25th to 29th, will be the last for the next 2 years to allow time for the festival grounds to recover. The annual Kataragama Esala festival is set to commence on Thursday in Sri Lanka with the flag hoisting ceremony. Devotees who started their Padyatra across weeks have reached Kataragama, completing a journey of over 500 kilometers across challenging terrain on foot. The Perahara will feature fire ceremony on July 7 with Maha Perahara or the grand celebration scheduled for 10th of July. The festival, which is celebrated across faiths, is known to have deep bonds bridging India and Sri Lanka. Kataragama's main temple, the Mahadevala, is dedicated to the Hindu god of war Skanda, who is also revered by Buddhists as Kataragama Devyo and believed by Muslims to be connected to Hazrat Khizr. All right, big news coming in. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has refused to sign the joint declaration at the SCO meet as Pahalgam attack was not mentioned. Remember, Rajnath Singh mentioned Pahalgam attack and its aftermath in his opening statement at the meet. He also urged the SCO members to condemn terrorism unequivocally. So big news coming in. Rajnath Singh speaks on Pahalgam terror attack. He took a dig at Pakistan for using cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy. And to talk more on this and to give us the latest, DD India's Ravi Dhiman joins us. Ravi, what is the latest that you can tell us?
Well, what we are getting according to the sources, the Ministry of Defence sources, is that Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has refused to sign the joint declaration at the SCO meet as the Pahalgam attack was not mentioned. Remember, Pahalgam attack was a heinous attack where the victims were identified by their religion and shot dead in front of their family members. Such an evil act, which was mentioned in the opening statement of the Raksha Mantri at the summit, was not included in the joint declaration. So India decided not to be a part of such a joint declaration. I would say the stand taken by the Raksha Mantri is quite apt, since in his opening statement too, he mentioned the Pahalgam terror attack, and he also said that the resistance front, which took responsibility of the act, was nothing but a proxy of the UN designated terror group, LET, or the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which has been active from Pakistani soil for past many decades. And in his opening statement, Rajnath Singh also said, talked about Operation Sindoor, which India launched on 7th of May to dismantle the cross-border terrorist infrastructure and to bring the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack to justice. In his statement also, Rajnath Singh said that SCO members, the SCO member states, should condemn the evil of terrorism unequivocally, and rightly so. India was justified in demanding that Pahalgam terror attack should be part of the joint statement, should be part of the joint declaration at the SCO. It was a dastardly attack at innocent civilians who were identified and killed on the basis of their religion. Nothing of this sort occurred. Such a dastardly act in the past 1 year, and quite aptly India expected it to be included in the joint declaration.
And also, Ravi, what impact could this have, and any implications of this refusal?
Well, India has made its point pretty clear. India has made the point pretty clear at multiple international fora that terrorism will not be tolerated, and India will take its own course to retaliate against terror attacks. We have made it clear to Pakistan, we have made it clear to all the member states of SCO that terrorism is a scourge which needs to be tackled unitedly at at global level. And in his the opening statement, the Raksha Mantri also said that the pattern was similar as that of LET's previous terror attacks in India. And India reiterated that we need to hold the perpetrators, organizers, financiers of these acts of terrorism and bring them to justice. So India has stood its ground, and quite rightly. India has maintained its position vis-a-vis terrorism, that there should be no compromise as when it comes to fighting terrorism, and India has maintained that stand and refused to sign the joint declaration.
Absolutely. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today took a dig at Pakistan for using cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy. In fact, without naming Pakistan. And Ravi, we heard Rajnath Singh's remarks on terrorism. Tell us, how strong was his message to the SCO member nations?
Well, a major portion of his speech, Abhishek, was focused on terrorism in general and on the Pahalgam terror attack in particular. India made it clear that the biggest challenges that the humanity faces in the region, in the SCO region, are related to peace, security and trust deficit. And the root cause of these problems is increasing radicalization, extremism and terrorism. Rajnath also reiterated India's zero tolerance for terrorism, and he mentioned Operation Sindoor, in a sense giving message to all concerned, particularly the adversaries across the border, that such acts of terror in future will invite an appropriate response from India, and India will not hesitate to go beyond the borders and act in its self-defense if such act again takes place on Indian soil. So, again, Rajnath Singh also flagged the issue of terrorism being a state, state policy for some, and which finds, usage in the state doctrine, particularly focusing on the neighbor which has been focusing on terrorism as a state subject, and he also flagged the issue of technology that is being provided to terrorists, and the need to counter such technology and maintain a technological edge over the terrorists.
Yes, taking a strong stand at SCO ministerial meet and urged the SCO members to condemn terrorism unequivocally. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs, Ravi. All right, we are slipping into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's Smart Cities mission completes 10 years of providing financial assistance and promoting sustainable urban development through selected cities. Rajasthan, to host 5th Khelo India University Games in November this year, will welcome over 4,000 athletes. An International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking being observed today, with focus on breaking the chains, prevention, treatment and recovery for all.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some weather updates now. The India Met Department has predicted heavy rainfall in multiple states until June 30th, as showers have continued to disrupt normal life across several states. The southwest monsoon likely to arrive in Delhi and adjoining regions in coming days, while light to moderate rains with thunderstorm is expected in Delhi and nearby areas. Isolated heavy rainfall is likely over Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Rajasthan until June 30th. It has also alerted of heat wave in Jammu division. Parts of central, east and northeast India too will witness heavy rains for the next 7 days. And Himachal Pradesh is already witnessing heavy rainfall. At least 2 people were killed and over 10 went missing after cloudbursts led to flash floods in many of the state districts on Wednesday. In Kangra district, relief and rescue operations are continuing on war footing. 2 contingents of the State Disaster Response Force and a team of Home Guard are deployed at the site and are continuously engaged in search operations. All right, we'll go across to Shimla now in Himachal Pradesh. DD India's Prakash Pant joins us live from there. Prakash, the visuals that we see from Kangra are scary. At least 2 people were killed, over 10 missing after cloudburst. Tell us about the scale of damage and also about the relief and rescue operations.
Indeed, Abhishek, the visuals are looking very scary and the situation is also very grim there. The Himachal Pradesh has been experiencing heavy rainfall for the past 48 hours, which has resulted in flash floods, cloudbursts and landslides at several places. But the worst incident happened, as you reported, in the Kangra district near Dharmshala, where an under construction hydro project site was hit by cloudburst and the flash flood. So several workers there were washed away into the Nala, which is Manu Gad, which is locally it is called. And but the administration has reported 2 deaths as well as 6 are still missing. And SDRF and NDRF teams are there deployed. And the administration is since yesterday evening, late evening, all the senior administration officials are there, and rescue operations are still on there. But still the 6 persons which are missing are the rescue teams are searching for them, and the nearby villages have been evacuated, and traffic is also disrupted there. And also another such incident, 3 incidents of cloudburst were also reported from Kullu also, where in the Sanj Valley, 3 villages were heavily damaged, and also several people were washed away, but there are no reports of any bodies being recovered. But search operations are still on.
Okay.
But there the weather is now improved, so things are being controlled by administration in a better way. But here in the Dharmshala, near Dharmshala, things are still, because weather prediction is bad, so rescue operations are also bad.
All right, Prakash, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story. Like we told you, heavy rains continue to lash Uttarakhand, where a massive landslide at the Dharchula-Lipulek road in the Pithoragarh district. The road has been closed till the debris removal work completes at the landslide site. Heavy rainfall in the past few days has led to incidents of landfall at other places in the district as well. In business updates, the dream thought a decade ago has now become a reality. Smart City mission has not only created infrastructure but also hopes. Watch this special report.
The Smart Cities mission aims to enhance the quality of life in India's cities through smart and sustainable solutions. By focusing on key areas like infrastructure, governance and social development, the mission seeks to transform urban living across the nation. The Smart City mission was launched in 2015. It has now completed 10 years. Focused on economic development, inclusiveness and sustainability, this is a mission to bring together diverse needs like housing, transportation, education, healthcare and entertainment. With 100 cities driving the initiative, the Smart Cities mission has achieved substantial progress, and the list of achievements is quite impressive. All 100 smart cities have operational integrated command and control centers. They have significantly improved city operations such as transport, water supply and solid waste management. Over 84,000 CCTV cameras have been installed in 100 smart cities, aiding in crime monitoring. 28 cities have developed drinking water treatment capacity of more than 2,900 million litres per day. More than 1,320 projects on public spaces have been developed across 84 smart cities. 27 cities have created wastewater treatment capacity of 1,370 million litres per day. 9,433 smart classrooms have been developed across 2,300 government schools in 71 smart cities. Through smart technology, sustainable solutions, and active community involvement, the mission has enhanced infrastructure, public safety, mobility, water supply, and healthcare. As the mission moves forward, it continues to work towards building smarter, more livable cities that can serve as examples for others to follow. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, time now for sports updates. Rajasthan is set to host the 5th edition of Khelo India University Games in November. The Purnima University and Rajasthan University will jointly host the Khelo India University Games 2025 in Jaipur. More than 4,000 athletes from more than 200 universities are expected to participate in the multi-sport games. Like previous editions, there will be at least 20 disciplines on the Khelo India University Games program. Chandigarh University had won the team championships at the 2024 edition, which was co-hosted by Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Nagaland and Tripura. As the global community observes the United Nations accredited International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking on June 26, India stands poised to reaffirm its commitment to a society free from the grip of substance abuse. This year's global theme, Breaking the Chains, Prevention, Treatment and Recovery for All, resonates powerfully with the nation's ongoing multi-pronged approach to this critical public health and social challenge. Our next report brings you more.
Established by the UN in 1987, this day highlights the urgent need to combat illicit drugs. The 2025 theme promotes evidence-based prevention, accessible treatment, and compassionate recovery support. It also stresses tackling drug trafficking's ties to organized crime through strong international cooperation. In India, the Nasha Mukt Bharat Abhiyan, spearheaded by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, has gained significant momentum. This nationwide initiative, operational across all districts, focuses on raising awareness about the adverse effects of substance abuse, with a particular emphasis on engaging youth in educational institutions and communities. The Abhiyan has reached over 15.78 crore people, including many youth and women, through awareness activities. Over 4.31 lakh educational institutions have participated. The strategy focuses on supply control, demand reduction, and access to treatment and rehabilitation. To mark the day, the government is holding awareness events from June 1st to 26th, ending with a national program. Partnering with spiritual and social groups, the campaign aims to boost outreach and community involvement. India is also strengthening its rehab and treatment centers for addiction. The International Day Against Drug Abuse highlights the need for a united national effort. It calls for a compassionate, community-based approach backed by strong law enforcement and global cooperation. Jessica Taneja, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.